Gouverneur Morris was an important founding father of the United States who wrote the introduction to the Constitution. But he died at the age of 64 after attempting to clear a urinary tract blockage using a whalebone as a catheter. While the practice of marrying your cousin is typically seen as something only done by British royalty or Alabama rednecks, up until the 1900s, virtually no one married complete strangers like we do today. In fact, 80% of all marriages throughout history have been between second cousins or closer. In 2012, Donna Summer died from lung cancer at the age of 63, even though she wasn't a smoker. The singer believed it was caused by inhaling the toxic fumes from the Twin Towers after they fell on 9/11. Since the dust filled the air around Ground Zero for several months afterwards, and Summer lived nearby. In fact, around 6,400 people have since died from 9/11 related illnesses, more than double the amount that died on the actual day of the attacks. In 1928, Alfred Lowenstein, the third richest man in the world at the time, completely disappeared from his private jet in the middle of a flight. After Alfred took too long to use the bathroom, his secretary went in to check on him, but the bathroom was empty and the exit door connected to it was wide open. There have been many theories put forth, but Alfred most likely opened the wrong door by accident. In 1973, 16-year-old John Paul Getty III was kidnapped in Rome, with a $17 million ransom demanded from his billionaire grandfather, J. Paul Getty. But the former richest man in the world refused to pay, suspecting that the rebellious teenager was just trying to extract money from his tycoon grandfather. As time went on, the teenager's father pleaded with his dad to send the money, but the mogul argued that his 13 other grandchildren could also become kidnap targets if he paid. After just one date with him in 2018, Arizona woman Jacqueline Adis allegedly sent a man over 159,000 texts over a 10-month span. Adis was later arrested for trespassing inside the man's home while he was out of the country, but she was later declared mentally incompetent to stand trial and the charges were dropped. This is the 2,000-year-old skull of Mary Magdalene on display at St. Maximin Basilica in France. It's considered to be one of the most precious relics in all of Christendom. In 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson drove his car into a ditch while driving home from a party. He called his parents and told them he was fine, but wasn't sure exactly where he was. Nearly 50 minutes into the call, he suddenly yelled, "Oh shit," and then went silent. He's never been seen nor heard from again. It's an 1870 photo of an Indian guru wearing an iron collar so he could never lay down. He did this by choice as a sign of devotion to his religion, believing that suffering allows one to grow closer to the spiritual. In 2019, Fred Pepperman swam out to rescue his 3 daughters who were caught in a riptide on a Florida beach. After saving them all, he fell unconscious and passed away on the way to the hospital. His final words to them were, "I got you." The 1985 film Mask is based on the true story of Rocky Dennis, an American boy with an extremely rare bone disorder. It causes bone to build up excessively in the skull, resulting in compression of the brain. Doctors initially told him he would die before his 7th birthday, but Rocky ended up living to the age of 16. After being told he would die if he didn't change his habits, a morbidly obese Scottish man went an entire year without eating any food. The 450-pound 27-year-old only consumed multivitamins and potassium tablets for 382 days, only going number 2 once every 40 to 50 days. He set a record for the longest fast ever recorded and ended up losing 275 pounds. In 2002, Pennsylvania mother Brenda Heist completely disappeared after dropping her 2 kids off at school. 11 years later, she was found living with a group of homeless people in Key West, Florida. Investigators found out she was upset about an upcoming divorce and wanted to completely abandon her life as she knew it. Brenda survived by living under bridges and eating scraps of food until she got tired of running and decided to turn herself in. Her family wanted nothing to do with her since they thought she'd been dead for years, and her ex-husband was even treated as a suspect for her supposed murder. Just last year, 16-year-old Marie Antoinette Coutillo tragically died after her phone fell into the bathtub while she was on a call with her friend. She'd been charging her phone while using it and apparently dropped it in the water at some point. Marie was eventually found unresponsive by her parents and rushed to the hospital, but doctors were unable to save her. King Charles II of England had a wig made out of the pubic hair of his mistresses. King George IV later attempted to make one of his own but died before he completed it. F. Scott Fitzgerald, author of The Great Gatsby, was once told by his wife Zelda that he had a small package. Feeling inadequate, he confessed this to his friend Ernest Hemingway. So Hemingway told Fitzgerald to meet him in the bathroom, where he took a look at his member and told him it was perfectly fine. 26-year-old Luigi Mangione was reportedly detained at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania after being recognized by the cashier. Police later discovered that the man had a gun similar to the one used in Thompson's killing, along with a silencer and a fake New Jersey ID. The same ID he reportedly used to check into a New York City hostel just before the shooting. Officers also recovered a 3D printed ghost gun as well as a handwritten manifesto in which Mangione condemns the healthcare industry for prioritizing profits over people. Some of the verbiage in the document was rather violent, including lines like, "These parasites had it coming." The suspect is reportedly known to be a radical anti-capitalist climate activist who idolizes Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. Like Kaczynski, the former high school valedictorian attended an Ivy League college and is said to have an exceptional IQ. Police are now questioning Mangione as they continue to seek further information about the shooting. Amanda Eller was lost for 17 days in the Maui wilderness after a 3-mile hike turned into a full-on nightmare. She set out on foot without a phone, food, or water since she only planned to be out for a short adventure. But after veering off the trail, she wasn't able to find her way back. The 35-year-old later managed to survive a flash flood with a broken leg and suffered many hallucinations throughout the ordeal. She said she kept hearing voices that were telling her what to do if she wanted to survive. Amanda was eventually spotted by a helicopter pilot who turned a different way that nobody would normally search on a whim. In 2022, an Irish woman was hospitalized with extreme stomach pain and had to have her appendix removed after years of holding in farts around her boyfriend. Wonder Woman was created by a polyamorous male kinkster who was married to 2 bisexual women. The character was originally made to represent an overtly kinky symbol for women and was nearly canceled from the start because of how explicitly she was being depicted. Edgar Allan Poe married his first cousin Virginia when she was 13 years old and he was 27. The pair first met when Virginia was only 7 while Edgar was 21. Most famous for his 6 different marriages, King Henry VIII hired 4 men to regularly check his feces, monitor his bowel movements, and wipe his bottom. They were known as the grooms of the King's Stool, and all of them were eventually knighted. This photo of Samantha Koenig was taken by serial killer Israel Keyes to convince the victim's family that she was still alive, so that he could demand $30,000 in ransom from them for her safe return. But in reality, Koenig had already been dead for several weeks. The family paid some of the ransom before the killer dumped Samantha's body in a lake and never contacted them again. Russian YouTuber was recently sentenced to 6 years in a maximum security prison after he allegedly caused his pregnant girlfriend to die from hypothermia during a live stream. Known as Stas Reflay, the streamer reportedly forced his girlfriend onto a freezing cold balcony wearing nothing but her underwear. Sometime later, he pulled her back inside and appeared confused, saying, "Chat, she has no pulse, she's pale, she's not breathing." He then laid her lifeless body on the couch, opened up a bottle of liquor, and continued streaming for an additional 2 hours before authorities finally arrived. The streamer's actions were apparently part of a disturbing trend known as trash streaming that's popular in Russia, where streamers perform dangerous or degrading stunts for donations. The 34-year-old only ended his stream after police entered his home. Hungarian man Adam Rayner was barely 4 feet tall for the first half of his life due to dwarfism. But during his 20s, a pituitary tumor caused a dramatic growth spurt, and by age 33, he was 7'2". He's the only person in recorded history to have been both a dwarf and a giant. In 2013, ABC News reporter Amy Rohrbach had a mammogram taken live on TV to promote breast cancer awareness. It just so happened that she did have cancer, and the procedure likely saved her life. Famous Austrian composer and painter Arnold Schoenberg had extreme triskaidekaphobia, a fear of the number 13. He ended up dying on Friday the 13th at the age of 76. 7 plus 6 equals 13. In the history of Major League Baseball, there have only been 3 players with the first name Aurelio. Amazingly but tragically, they all died in separate car accidents.